Okay, I did my paper and now I'm doing my oral presentation over hunting. I didn't really focus in on any type of hunting besides just like rural Iowa, Midwest hunting. I didn't do like trophy hunting in Africa or anything like that. I just kept it small and local. There is no doubt that hunting is a controversial topic. There are people who are for it, there are people who are against it, and then there's the people in the middle. You have the people who are pro guns and pro hunting, and some of the reasons that they're like this is because like it's their family or their ancestors history. So for example, like our ancestors, there's probably like a 99% chance that they hunted for their food and they needed that nutrients and everything to survive. So big reason why people are pro hunting. Another reason is it's still a main food source today. Like people are hunting for deer meat, or we eat turkeys on Thanksgiving. Some people go out and hunt their own turkeys. Just really any kind of wild animal, wild game is food for us to eat. Another reason I read that people are pro guns and pro hunting is it's kind of a family bonding moment. So like a dad and his kids will go out hunting, or a family will go out hunting, and it's just been a bonding moment for families for many generations. And then there's the people who are anti-guns and anti-hunting. One of the many reasons is animal cruelty. They believe that there's no reason why these wild animals should be being shot and they should be left alone and all this other stuff. They believe that letting people handle guns and go hunting is just a form of violence. They think that it's going to start there and it's going to get worse as they go on. They're going to bring it to their towns and their communities, and they just think that the violence levels are going to grow. Another reason is they think that it's damaging the environment. They think killing one animal leads to killing another, and so on and so forth. The next topic I talked about was taxation. In 1937, they passed the Pittman-Robertson Wildlife Restoration Act. This was just a tax that was put on guns and hunting equipment, ammunition, and all that kind of stuff. For example, it's a 10% tax on handguns, an 11% tax on other firearms, 11% tax on ammunition, an 11% tax on bows and related equipment. And then there's a few other things, but these are just the basic breakdowns. In 2017, the Pittman-Robertson Wildlife Restoration Act raised roughly $800 million towards wildlife and restoring wildlife. So hunters aren't just going out there to kill, they're also supporting our environment and our economy and all that kind of stuff while they're doing something that they enjoy doing with their family and their friends and that kind of stuff. This graph down here says roughly 55% of funding comes from taxes and tags. We'll talk about tags here on the next slide, but this is from Idaho, but it just gives you a breakdown of the whole taxation in a like one simple chunk. So like 16% of the taxation goes towards sporting goods, 19 towards resident license sales, 22% towards non-resident tag sales, 29% towards federal money and just that kind of stuff, and then 14% goes to something that's not on the list or is, but it's just simpler to break it down by itself. Like I said, we're going to talk about tag limits. Tag limits are meant to control species populations. So a tag limit is a certain amount of a certain species you can kill during the season. So we'll talk about that next. It's not like winter, spring, summer, fall. It's different. Okay, so tag limits are meant for controlling species population. They really depend sometimes on the year. They typically don't change a whole lot, but say there is a sudden boom of white-tailed deer, they may up the tag limit. Or if there's not a lot, they may say no deer, one deer, just depends. So it's a hope to make sure we don't overpopulate a certain species or we don't endanger or extinct one species. It also helps to control vegetation. So say a certain species overpopulates and eats all this vegetation or most of the vegetation, but another animal also relies on that vegetation to eat and survive, then that animal will be hurt. And so they're just helping to make sure that there's the right amount of vegetation, the species are getting fed when they need to be, getting all the nutrients and stuff that they need. Some common tag limits in Iowa: for a rooster pheasant, you can get 3 daily or 10 total. Deer depends on the population and the season, like I said earlier, and if they're antler or non-antler. Now we're gonna just jump over to hunting seasons quick. So hunting seasons are certain times of the year where you're allowed to hunt a certain species. During a hunting season, you can only kill a certain number of species, so that is the tag limit. There can be a number of seasons in a year, so it can be like one season you have to use a certain kind of gun, the next season you have to use a bow, or just like they just kind of have different rules and guidelines to follow in different seasons. This is a little blurry, but it shows the buck harvest per square mile in counties in Iowa. So these are just like the white ones are okay, not too bad, but could be better. The light gray is like, oh, okay, pretty good buck harvest there. And then the dark gray, which you can see there is not a lot of, is good buck harvesting per square mile. So buck harvesting per square mile means how many bucks are being killed in a certain season per square mile. And then there's the effects on the environment. So there's the good effects and then there's the bad effects. Some of the good effects for the environment: it controls animal populations, like I said before, so there's no overpopulation or underpopulation. Like endangerment, extinction, all that kind of stuff. It controls the spread of diseases. So, for example, the bird flu went around, 5, 7, 10 years ago? Well, it seems like a long time ago. But, let's say that was in the pheasants and the turkeys and the geese and the ducks and all that kind of stuff. And the hunting can control the populations, which helps control the spread of diseases and that kind of stuff. And like I said earlier, it helps protect vegetation. We don't want one animal to eat too much and hurts other animals. Then there's the bad effects on the environment. One of the most negative effects that hunting has on the environment is the people who don't follow the laws, the rules, the regulations that are set in stone. For example, tag limits. When they're killing too much of one animal, it can cause a chain reaction. So say they kill too much of one animal and its predator now can't find the right food source it needs, and then that predator's predator can't find, and it just becomes a chain reaction. There can be an overpopulation of its prey and this is an underpopulation of its species and its predators, and it's just a whole thing that we don't want to mess with. So just follow the rules and the regulations. Another reason that hunting is bad for the environment is the high levels of littering. So during big hunting seasons, for example, like deer hunting season or turkey hunting, hunters tend to sit up in their tree stands for long hours at a time, long days. It just all depends on what the hunter prefers. But if they're up there all day, they're going to be eating, they're going to be drinking, and it causes high levels of littering because often hunters aren't cleaning up after themselves. So that's a negative effect that it definitely has on the environment, because these animals are choking and eating this garbage, and some of it gets into the water and it kills the fish and all that kind of stuff. In my personal opinion, I'm a big fan of hunting. I've known to do it since I was little. My family does it. My boyfriend and his family do it. Our friends do it. It's just I come from a really small rural town, so it's just like another way to pass time and for all of us to get together and just bond over something that we all have in common. I get that some people don't like it, some people do like it, and some people don't even understand. They're like, okay, what the heck, do your thing. But I'm pro hunting. Here is my works cited page, and that is all.